Hello and welcome back to today's episode of Costa Rica Travel and Living Podcast. I will be your host today, Jessica Licky, and today we are celebrating Costa Rica's Independence Day, September 15th. Today I'll be chatting with Jose Rojas, executive chef, born and still working here in the La Fortuna area, which is located here in San Carlos. Him and I have been friends pretty much since I arrived here in Costa Rica almost 8 years ago, so I'm super excited to chat with him. And since Independence Day here in Costa Rica is really focused around friends, family, and food, I thought who better to interview than a local chef. So let's dive right in. Good morning, Jose. How are you?
Hi, Jessica.
I am so excited to chat with you today. It's been a long time, and you and I have known each other since the very beginning of my Costa Rica days. So I wanted to chat with someone who loves Costa Rica, all things about Costa Rica, and I couldn't think of anyone better. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm really happy to share everything what we're gonna talk today.
Awesome. So for those that don't know you, you are the executive chef of one of the top hotels in La Fortuna, the Springs. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're from and how you ended up at the Springs and in La Fortuna?
Well, I'm a local from this area. I was born in Ciudad Quesada, which is like 60 kilometers away from La Fortuna. So, I know this place for all my life. I started working in the Springs for as a line cook. Then I tried to learn as much as I could from the chefs like they were in that time. Eventually, the owner wanted me to be in charge of the kitchen, so I accept to be in charge of the kitchen. So it will be easier maybe because all the other chefs they were from the US or from other countries. He decided it was easier to have like a local chef, to deal with all the employees and everything. Yeah.
I love it. And today we are celebrating, or at least chatting about all things Costa Rica Independence Day, right? So September 15th. And something, at least for me in the States, what I think about or what I pair with the 4th of July, right, which is our Independence Day, is food, right? Like food brings us all together. And it's something that we share during our Independence Day. And so I wanted to chat with you a little bit about what does the 15th of September look like here in Costa Rica? What are some of your fondest memories, and perhaps what food or the culinary arts has to do with the celebrations here? So why don't you tell us a little bit about what does the 15th of September look like for you guys here in Costa Rica? What do you do? What do you celebrate? What can a typical Costa Rican family or perhaps someone of our age be doing on this day?
Well, the 15th of September, we are celebrating like we are getting the independence from Spain. So actually, that was the time where we become like a country. So we celebrate with all the traditional dishes that we already have, but the celebrations are more focused like we celebrate mostly the education because this is something like we are very proud of in this country. So we do all these parades with the kids and the young people from the primary school, like high school. So they try to show them, like all the people like we are in these important institutions for us. So it's a 2-day celebration. Actually, we start the day before on the 14th. It's like we do like homemade like lamps. So we do this parade at sunset. So everybody like lights the lamps. We receive is like the torch of independence, which is like a torch that came from the old Central America countries. It gets to Costa Rica, so we receive the torch this way with lamps at sunset. We sing like the national anthem and some traditional songs. And then we go to home and we enjoy traditional Costa Rican dishes. That's what we do, like olla de carne or tamales, picadillos. That's some of the dishes that we have.
And what about parades? Do you guys do like, is there music in the streets? Are there parades?
Yes. Every primary school or high school, they have their own band. So and they're like there's like a competition with all the schools, and there are like prizes and everything. Like the best band, they receive like a prize, and so usually there is like a band, and then we have um it's like an honor group. It's all the kids and young guys, like have the best grades in their schools. They go first in the parade, and then we have like dancing people, and it's a lot of like joy.
Yeah. Typical dancing. And I think what's really interesting about Costa Rica is that, in the States, perhaps for the 4th of July, we go, swimming, or we go to lake houses and there's boat parades and all of those things. Here in Costa Rica, I feel like it's very, it's focused around family, right? And like you said, the education. Costa Rica has invested tons of money into the education here. And so, kids and family, and, that is what the Independence Day here is celebrated and kind of based around, is families, schools, young kids, celebrating time together. And it's very much a communal thing, right?
Yes, exactly. And for example, we used to hang the national flag outside of our homes. So by those days, you're going to see like a lot of flags everywhere. It's like getting proud of our country.
I love it. And it's something really cool that, each person, if you're traveling around the September dates, that you can celebrate, right? A lot of some of the main tourist areas, La Fortuna, Mamon Antonio, Jaco, there's parades that you can probably see, everywhere. Right?
Yeah, the parades usually take place in the big or in the main cities, all in all the country. So yeah, if you are like in Tamarindo, or you are in Liberia or Ciudad Quesada, or even in La Fortuna, you're gonna have, or you can enjoy like a parade in there.
And what does the hotel that you work at do anything fun or special, or do you create any special meals for that time of the year?
Sometimes we use like we try to use like a small a small flags, like showing the people like this is like especially for us, and we recommend people to try all the Costa Rican dishes in our menus.
So you have typical Costa Rican dishes on the menus at the hotel.
Yes,
is that right?
we do like specials or things that we don't have in menus, but they are like local.
Awesome. And I'm sure it's really hard for you because you cook a lot of wonderful dishes, but tell us what the top 2 or 3 favorite dishes of yours are, either whether it be for the Independence Day or just in general, typical Costa Rican dishes that everybody who comes here must try.
Okay. I think like some of the most traditional dishes I really enjoy doing is like the picadillos, because there's a lot of diversity and a lot of options to play with whatever you want. It's basically that you have like potatoes or carrots or green beans or whatever, and you just mix it. I use as a reference my grandmother's cooking, because that's my, I know I will never get to that, but I try to, like to do something similar, because she was so good at cooking. Yeah.
So picadillo is one of your favorites. What else?
Picadillo, then olla de carne. That's one is really good. It's like a very hearty soup, and you use like a lot of root vegetables. You use like beef chuck. It's like a very tough meat, so you cook it for a very long time, so it has a lot of flavor. You put in there like peppers, onions, celery, a kind of cilantro. We call it coyote cilantro, like we have here. Is very similar flavor than cilantro, but it goes really good with the olla carne.
It's interesting. Sometimes as a local travel consultant, people will say, oh, I don't know that my kids are going to like any of the food in Costa Rica because they don't like spicy food. Tell us about what you would respond to someone who thinks that Costa Rica food is spicy.
Well, actually, our food is not spicy. Is actually we received this comment from a lot of guests, and they said, look, I don't it's for us is good. Some people they say it's bad, but they say that it's a kind of bland, like because we try to cook as natural as we can, not to use a lot of condiments, a lot of things. So we try to enhance the natural flavors of our ingredients. So it's very simple. We use, for example, for seasoning, we make this is the sofrito, which is a mix of peppers, onions, garlic, sometimes celery. And then we have very few seasonings like oregano or cumin. Yeah, lots of garlic. That's mostly what you're going to find. Cilantro, of course. Cilantro is like a basic flavor in our cuisine. So that's what you're going to find in our cooking.
I think it's super important, right? Because some people think, okay, I'm going to Central America, and they kind of associate it with Mexico, and they think it's, we eat a lot of spicy food, and that's just not the case here. Like you said, we eat a lot of natural foods. Natural olores is what they call it here, right? So lots of natural.
Yeah, it's a very healthy cuisine, actually, because we don't like to use like condiments, or like artificial condiments or sauces or things like that. So it's really good for your stomach, actually. Your food.
Yeah. Tell me, speaking of that, tell me a little bit about what does the average diet look like here? Like how many times a day do we normally eat here in Costa Rica? What do they like to eat?
Well, basic things in Costa Rica, meals are like rice and beans. That's basic. So you're going to have rice and beans at the breakfast, rice and beans for lunch, and sometimes for dinner. We don't eat like rice and beans every single day for breakfast or like gallo pinto. We have other dishes. For example, we have tortillas. So we can have gallos, which is like a tortilla with something, like a leftover from picadillo from the last day, or like a piece of cheese, or we like cheese tortillas, which is like a tortilla, like you add cheese in the mix. So it's like a cheesy tortilla. Or we have we eat a lot of like bread. Like we have this kind of a baguette, but we call it melcochon. It's a big, thick baguette. We like it to toast it, put in like beans or cheese or avocado, or anything you have available. So we not just only eat rice and beans for breakfast. Sweet plantains also in the breakfast. Cheese is very important also.
So people eat. It's common to eat breakfast in Costa Rica. Is that what you're saying? People don't it's not a meal that people tend to skip.
Is one of the most important meals. Actually, well, there was like I think like a few months ago, Costa Rican breakfast was named one of the healthiest in the world, because it's very balanced. You have like a perfect balance of carbohydrates, protein, some vegetables.
And fruit, right? I mean, there's tons of fruit here.
Tropical fruits. Yeah. papaya,
So after
pineapple.
breakfast, do you normally eat the next meal at lunch or?
Yes. Next meal is lunch. Lunch is served from 11. Some people late because we used to wake up very early, so start working at 6 in the morning. So usually our lunch starts like at 11 or noon. It goes until 2 p.m. That's the lunch time. We have in that space, you can have any kind of food, but mostly we have like, it's like a casado. The casado is not like a single dish. You know, you have like rice, beans, and you can add whatever. You know, some people even add like pasta or picadillo or like eggs or a piece of avocado or tomatoes or pork, chicken, whatever. So whatever you have on hand, that's what you have in your normal meals. We eat a lot of pasta also. Um, um, what else? Yeah, that's mostly what we have for lunch. And then we have like coffee break. The coffee break is I love coffee break. Is time, yeah, is because we love coffee. We have coffee in the mornings, and then we have coffee again at the afternoons. So coffee break is from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. So that's the time for coffee. And usually you have coffee with some pastries or some breads, homemade breads, especially.
Is there a certain name for that meal?
We call it the cafe.
Okay.
The cafe is like the time you you have this. For example, you tell your friends, okay, let's go to vamos a tomar café. So that means like we're gonna have the coffee. Is similar to the tea time, like in England, for example, but that's a little bit later. But this is like something like really important for us.
Awesome. And then after that,
the coffee is a way to get more energy to finish the day. So that's why we need that coffee. Yeah.
Awesome.
And then we have the dinner. Dinner usually is from 6 in the afternoon to 8 p.m. We don't eat very late. For dinner, we like to have lighter meals like soups or like some leftovers from lunch. But yeah, for example, olla de carne is something like we have for dinner, not for lunch. For example, sopa negra, which is like a black bean soup. Like that's one of my favorite things ever. It's like beans, green plantains, and hard-boiled eggs. It's so tasty. Yeah. We have chickpea soups, lentil soups. Yeah, something very light.
Lots of beans, right? So like you've mentioned lentils, black beans, I think brown beans.
Yeah. Not very spicy.
Not spicy. And kind of in the form of a soup, right? So the beans, either with rice or rice and in a soup or some sort of, caldo.
Yes, exactly. People, they add rice or, if you are like on diet, you can only eat the vegetables with the soup and the protein like beef or chicken. Yeah.
And so I'm not sure if we specified earlier, but like for the Independence Day here in Costa Rica, like after the parades are done and you go to your house, what is like the traditional meal for that day or for those 2 days?
There's not a traditional meal, like we have more, anything. It's like a normal meal, but it's not the situation, for example, for Christmas or for Semana Santa. We have like other like very, very traditional dishes. Like we prepare only those for those days. But for Independence Day, it's just like a family celebration, like being together. You can cook whatever you can cook,
Okay.
So it's not like a special dish for that.
And for, like you said, like for Christmas and the holidays in December, what would a traditional meal or dish be?
Tamales, tamales, which is really good. And every family they have their own recipe. So you can, you have like a basic, like the corn masa, and like usually like rice, pork or chicken, carrots or peppers, but you can add whatever you want. Chickpeas, like olives, or some people they add like even like raisins or things like that. Some people love it, some people hate it, but it's something like some families
And
they like it.
for Semana Santa or Holy Week, which is around the Easter time, Easter time.
Yes. So we eat a lot of fish. So we have like fish dishes. There is like, for example, sopa de bacalao. That's one soup that you make for Semana Santa. It's made from a dry cod. That's you make that soup. I love it. My brothers they hate it because they say like it smells a lot, but I think it's really tasty. Yeah.
And there's
Or
one, I don't remember if it's for Semana Santa, but the chiveri, which I actually have no
yeah,
idea how to
yeah.
say that in English. How do you
It's
say that?
chiverre. It's like the quesadilla de chiverre. It's like chiverre is like a kind of like a squash. So we made this how to say like a compote with the squash with sugarcane tapa dulce. Then we use this to fill empanadas or
Those are so
or
my favorite.
breads or yeah, this very very good. Yeah,
I love it. Those are one of my favorites. Whenever March comes around and I see them at the grocery store, I'm like, yep, those are
yeah,
coming home with me.
yeah. And those are dishes that you can find only in those days because chirre is a seasonal vegetable, so you can only use it those days.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome. And if you had to choose one dish that represents Costa Rica or, the most traditional dish, or if someone's coming to Costa Rica, the one dish that they must try, which one would you choose?
I will choose olla de carne because you're
Really?
gonna have like a sample of one of our best vegetables, Costa Rican beef. It has so much flavor. Like when you eat like olla de carne, you just feel like I'm Costa Rica. That's what that's for me is, there's the casado, but you can find different kinds of casados in all Central America. Actually, there are similar dishes like the olla carne in Colombia or Nicaragua, but the Costa Rican one is to me is really good.
And is that a dish that is new, or is that a dish that your grandparents and your grandparents' parents
It's
made?
very old. It's like it's been forever. Like it's a humble dish because is like Costa Rica was a colony at the beginning, so it wasn't a rich colony. Like we have a lot of country people and very hard workers, but there wasn't like a rich place. So our food was very simple. We eat what we have available. And we had a lot of influence from Spain and from other countries from Central America and Latin America. But yeah, Costa Rica, the traditional Costa Rican food was not a fancy food, for example. Yeah,
Well,
but
I
we
think
love
that
it.
that's
It's very
that's what
tasty.
makes it special, right? Is it's an old recipe that perhaps has been tweaked by certain
Exactly.
families to make it, you know, more appealing to your palate. But eating a food that has been passed down by generations and being able to experience that as someone who's either coming as an immigrant or an expat or even just, you know, a tourist and traveler, being able to taste that essence of the country is really special.
Exactly. Yeah. We have other dishes like arroz con pollo, which is like, it comes from the paella from Spain. You know, like it's something like we really like here. Then in the coast, you can have, for example, rice with shrimp is arroz con camarones, which is really good. Or those are traditional dishes, but I prefer the olla carne.
That's actually interesting. Yeah. I never thought of it that way, that the arroz con pollo or arroz con camarones is like the Costa Rican version of paella. I never thought of it that way.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I love
exactly.
it.
So there are other dishes inspired in, for example, ceviche is very popular in Costa Rica, but that's inspired from dishes from Mexico or Peru. Like it's like, we have influence from all Latin American food. There is like a new group of chefs, like 10, 15 years ago, chefs from my generation. They are trying to develop like a new Costa Rican cuisine. So they are trying to explore the possibilities of the ingredients that we have and the flavors and try to do something like local. But so they have done like really, really amazing and awesome things or awesome meal food. But it's something really new. So that's the new Costa Rican food. That is not the traditional Costa Rican, but we are inspired by the traditional food to create new dishes.
I also think it's interesting too, like you have this certain cuisine culture in like the Central Valley and even the Pacific Coast, but then you go over to the Caribbean side of the country, and that's a completely different culinary experience.
Yes. Yeah.
Tell us what does that look like?
The Caribbean food is inspired by the food of the Caribbean islands. It's from when we were like building the train line from the Caribbean to the Central Valley, and we start like growing bananas in a lot of like African American communities. They came to Costa Rica and they bring their traditional dishes to here. So they use a lot, for example, a lot of coconut. So coconut is a big flavor in their dishes. So you have like a version of the gallo pinto, but it's called rice and beans. Is the rice and beans, but they are cooked with the coconut and it's spicy. There's it's more spicy food, for sure. Like, and then they use like a lot of plantains, a lot of chicken, pork, fish. But it's more. I think it has more flavor. If I have to say, like the more flavorful food of Costa Rica is the food from the Caribbean.
And that was brought over what, like in the 60s, maybe?
No, it's from the beginning of the century, the last century. Yeah.
Sure. Awesome. And so I think it's important, right? Like I always try to explain to my travelers, like there are different cultures, even sometimes depending on whether it be architecture or, the food or, like even just the family morals or, what the family is made up of throughout Costa Rica, right? Because the Central Valley is very different than Guanacaste, which is very different than the Caribbean, which is very different than the Osa Peninsula or San Jose Centro, right? So there's several different cultures in within Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Tell us.
They don't have to think like we have like a full or like whole culture in Costa Rica. It's like every different place in Costa Rica, they have like their own traditions. Yeah.
And something that I love about, for example, where you live and work in like the La Fortuna area is that even though there are tons of hotels and lots of tourism, it's still very raw. It's still very authentic because I would say 80% of the hotel owners are local families. And a lot of the people who work at these hotels are local too, right? So you can drive just 10 minutes outside of La Fortuna downtown and you can be at a local finca, that
Yeah.
still has their agriculture practices and, their dairy farms. And it's still very authentic, versus going to say Guanacaste, for example, or Peninsula Papagayo and having a completely different experience.
Yes. Yeah. La Fortuna is like more like countryside. Yeah. I have to say it's more like, you have to go through a lot of farms and to get to the hotels or the tourist place.
Yeah. Tell me, to kind of wrap it up here, tell me about your most fun or funny or interesting or unexpected story as a chef at the Springs, which is one of the top hotels here in La Fortuna.
Well, I've been working in the Springs for a very long time, so I have a lot of stories. But like the most interesting is when we receive like celebrities or VIPs, because I don't know, like many people, they have like a lot of expectations, and like they're gonna be like picky or like like very difficult people, and they're just like normal people, like they are very nice. And one thing from all of them, I have to say is like they really enjoy like trying Costa Rican food, like trying to experience the country. So, and that's one thing. Like I can say to all the tourists like visit the country is like be open mind and try what we have. And we're gonna have very different things like there's other in the world. For example, with the food, we have all this beautiful forest and like nature and everything, and the food is part with that. Like we like to be like natural with the food, which with not very aggressive flavors. Everything is gonna be like that. Like very natural experience. So try to embrace that and try to eat healthy, and that's it. Yeah.
I think it's interesting, right? Because I remember when I used to work at the hotels too, you have celebrities that come and you get nervous about like, well, what are they going to think? Or are they going to ask me for something or a certain dish that we don't have? But it's really cool to hear that, in fact, it's the opposite, that they want to try what we have or what you have, even things that are perhaps on the menu, maybe they have an allergy or some sort of tweak they need to make to a dish. But it's cool to hear that they, a lot of them do come with an open mind and want to try what the country has to offer.
Yes. I'm saying this about being open minded because, we spend a lot of time like making our menus, like trying to give the best flavors of our country. And then like, we were in hospitality and we have to open to, help everybody and to please everybody. But, there guests like they just destroy your menus, they just want to change everything. And, they doesn't even give us the opportunity to try, what we have to offer. So that's why we appreciate when we feel honored when they really try things the way they are, because
I love it. Well, I hope that everyone that's listening has gotten a great idea of some dishes to try here in Costa Rica, whether you've been here or you're coming back or you're coming for the first time. Jose, thank you so much for joining us. I really enjoyed it. And I love hearing the passion that you have for this country, and not just the cuisine, but also the culture. and your countryside part of the country too. So thank you so much for joining us. I will, if it's okay with you, I'll share your email with the listeners in case anyone has any questions about the area or about certain dishes or cuisines that perhaps they're trying to replicate when they get back home. So thank you so, so much. And it was a pleasure chatting with you.
It was a pleasure. Yeah. If it happens, somebody who is watching this and happen to go to the Springs, look for me. I will help you.
You tend to hide back in the kitchen, but if anyone asks for the chef Jose Rojas, yes, he'll be happy to come out. Is that right?
I'd like to have contact with our guests, and I try to share, like our vision on, like Costa Rican culture with them.
I love it. Thank you so much, Jose. It was great to chat. We'll be in touch.
Okay. Bye.
Ciao. So great to hear from Jose. It's always inspiring to hear him talk about all things Costa Rica cuisine and a little bit of culture. Thank you to everyone who's tuned in and is still listening this far. As always, we would love and appreciate a thumbs up or for you to share our video. Make sure to subscribe to our channel so you never miss out on an episode. Until next time, take care. Pura Vida.